not what you see, but what you make others see. This profound insight by leaders perfectly frames tonight's lecture as we explore how the 19th century American painters captured Morocco, not merely through their eyes, but through the interplay of perception, ideology, and artistic expression. It is both an honor and joy to welcome you to this intellectual journey across South and 20th century. Tonight we are privileged to host Dr. Khalid Chaouch, a professor from Sultan Moulay Slimane University, who will guide us through a fascinating topic, 19th century American traveling painters in Morocco between conventional Orientalism and artistic realism. A special welcome to all the professors, researchers of Orientalism or Occidentalism joining us. Your presence makes the time truly meaningful. We also extend our deepest gratitude to Dr. Marwan Fatiha, Dr. Safiyat, Dr. Abdelkader, Touati, Dr. Fatima Tamzarti, Professor Yassine Jamal Bisi, and Professor Sultan. The 19th century was a time of profound cross-cultural encounters, and the works of these American painters serve as both art and historical testimony. Their canvas alternate between romanticized Orientalist tropes and the moments of striking realism, raising critical questions. How did they interpret Morocco's landscapes and people? What basis or breakthroughs shaped their texts or mythology? And how do these images continue to influence our understanding of cultural representation today? Well, free attendance certificates will be provided to receive yours. Write your full name in the live chat and register via the attendance link. Your active participation is encouraged. Engage with Dr. Chaouch. Your questions and reflections are invaluable. As Edward Said once observed, Orient was almost a European invention. Tonight, to examine how American artists contributed or contested this invention. We are honored to welcome Dr. Khalid Chaouch, a distinguished scholar, prolific author, and esteemed professor whose work bridges literature, cultural studies, and transnational encounters. Currently a full professor of Anglo-Saxon literature at Sultan Moulay University in Mellal, Morocco. Dr. Chaouch brings decades of expertise in exploring the intersection of art, history, and identity across cultures. He earned his doctorate in Anglo-Saxon literature from Toulouse University in France, and he has published several articles at the national and international level. He has earned several international or prestigious awards from, for example, Fulbright Award and the British Council's Prize for Moroccan Writers. Today, Dr. Chaouch will illuminate a fascinating chapter of cultural history, the 19th century American traveling painters in Morocco between conventional Orientalism and artistic realism, drawing from his extensive research on cross-cultural encounters. This lecture promises to unreveal how American artists navigated and sometimes transcended Orientalist tropes to capture Morocco's landscapes and people. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Dr. Khalid Chaouch. Thank you, Dr. Flores.
Thank you so much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I hope the sound is okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Hmad Benaissa. It's a great pleasure to give a presentation here at Bitlisaniyat. I would like first to thank our honorable moderator, Dr. Professor Hmad Benaissa, and also the supervisors and the coordinator, Supervisor Abdelkader Touati, coordinator Dr. Fatiha Tamzarti, also the technical staff. I'm really very honored to share with you this presentation, which will be on 19th century American traveling painters in Morocco between conventional Orientalism and artistic realism. We can say this title in another way. I mean the second. It's a subtitle. It's from conventional Orientalism to artistic realism. In this presentation, I will try to cover the following issues or the following chapters in brief. I'm not going to take you too much time. So the first one will be on 19th century American traveling painters, and then we will move to why do they come here, the reasons and influences of these American painters American traveling painters in particular. Third, aesthetic common features among them, and fourth, a formal and a contextual analysis of some paintings. We are going to go through an analysis of some of these paintings to show the difference between the works of American traveling painters and their European peers, either their predecessors or their contemporaries. Then the fifth point will be on making the difference, how those traveling painters made the difference in the framework of Orientalist art, and finally the aesthetic outcomes of the works of these traveling painters, and I will come out with some of the conclusions. So in the introduction, let me just give a general point on these painters and say, during the second half of the 19th century, many American traveling painters visited Morocco. They were first influenced and affected by their French mentors. I say French mentors because many of them learned the art of painting and deepened their knowledge in the art of painting in Paris, in the studios of Paris. And so after this, there was a wave of American traveling artists who came really to Morocco. I mean, physically, they didn't stay in their studios. They came to Morocco starting from the middle of the 19th century, around 1860s. The travel of these painters to Morocco resulted in a considerable compendium of artistic works, which are at the same time works of art and also historical records of the country, its people, its scenes and spectacles. The tableaus eternise historical, social and cultural moments of encounter between the painters and also between what they saw in Morocco. These works are even richer on many accounts, since the artist has the ability to summarize in one painting, at that time where there was no camera, no cell phones, etc. So in one painting, they could summarize a lot of things and pages that could have been written by a traveler or another author. So while some European painters externalized their fantasies of a harem they had never seen, or a boundlessly and savagely sensual Orient, most American painters of Morocco rather chose to render more tangible and more felt images of Morocco. Of course, there were exceptions, which means there were some American traveling painters who just repeated the same stereotypes and types of their French mentors and predecessors, but on the whole, most of them have made a kind of difference. So in the American case, Morocco is still an other, but it is presented both in its full Oriental attraction and a great deal of its 19th century reality and authenticity. So move on to the first section, which is on 19th century American traveling painters. As I said, I would try not to be so long on them. Maybe you will have the opportunity to read the whole paper either online or on a future publication. So on the whole, there were more or less 80 American painters classified as Orientalist painters. And among these painters, I have recorded 17 representative American traveling painters, which means those painters who really came to Morocco during the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century. When I say they came to Morocco, some of them came to Morocco and also to other countries of North Africa, mainly Algeria and some of them Tunisia. The list of these Americans is not a long one compared to European ones, but they left a very important corpus. This is just a summative list of those painters. Those highlighted in yellow could be illustrated in this presentation with one or two tableaus without taking too much time. You can see on the screen Mary Chase, who never visited Morocco. So he is classified as an Orientalist traveling painter, but he never came to Morocco. So his tableau will be a kind of exception that shows the difference between traveling artists who came to Morocco, to the Orient, and those who didn't come, which means that those who relied only on their imagination to give an image on the country and its people. As for the reason and influences of these traveling painters, some of them, I'm using the PDF version, so I'm not using the PowerPoint edition, version. So you can see the whole thing, but I hope I will be able to explain. So some of those painters painted reality and Moroccan scenes and spectacles on the spot. And some of them painted on the spot some of the sketches. Then they later completed in their studios, either in New York or Washington or Paris, they completed their paintings, which makes a little bit a neat difference between some of them. But as for their major influences, you can see the Arabian Nights. Since the translation of the Arabian Nights into French language in 1704, it was just after this, it was retranslated into English from the French edition by Antoine Galland, and in this way it was read. And what is important, what is particular about the Arabian Nights translation into English is the accompanying illustrations. Those books were illustrated by some illustrations, and of course those illustrations, they were not exact illustration of what was in the text. They were to a certain extent imagined, and they were impressions and expressions of those illustrators who were also artists. And in this way they influenced their readers, and they influenced also the common painters, including our traveling American painters. So this is one major influence. Another major influence, which is a textual one, is the works of Washington Irving. Washington Irving wrote a lot of things on Spain, Moorish Spain, on Andalusia, and in this way he introduced the American audiences this world of Andalusia. So this was to a certain extent the tree that hides the Orient, and in this way they knew the Orient, they knew North Africa, they knew Arabs through what Americans read in writings by Washington Irving. And Washington Irving wrote both fiction and non-fiction writings. A third major influence is the European Orientalist tradition. Delacroix, Chassériau, Jérôme, Ingres. Delacroix came to Morocco he visited North Africa in 1832, exactly. Chassériau and Jean-Léon Jérôme, Jean-Auguste Dominique Ingres also visited North Africa at a later phase, side by side with Delacroix, and later. They left, all of them left an important corpus of paintings that set the tone for Orientalist painting and represented a major influence on some American painters of Morocco and Algeria. As I said, the influence of these painters is first due to the fact that many of these American painters went through their Paris studios to learn more about painting. The second one is the tableaus themselves, the paintings themselves of these Europeans. They were about North Africa, particularly about Morocco and Algeria. And in this way, any American rise in American traveling painter was also dreaming to have his or her own tableaus of these two countries, which represented part of the Orient, but which is an accessible Orient. I said accessible Orient. This is another reason of the coming of those American painters to Morocco, is the geographical proximity of Morocco to the itinerary of American traveling painters. Those American painters are not used to have an itinerary when they visited Europe. When they came and crossed the Atlantic Ocean to come to Europe, they have an itinerary. Among their itinerary there was Spain. Once they are in Spain, many of them think about just crossing the straits. It's about 14 kilometers or less. And in this way, they have the opportunity to be in the Orient, physically speaking, which is accessible. It's very close by. It's not a very far country. And this encouraged them to do the same itinerary as the same move as Mark Twain, the Langhorne Clemens, the famous man of literature, the American author. So they crossed the Straits of Gibraltar to Tangier to paint an accessible sample of the Orient. The aesthetic common features of these American traveling painters in particular. First, most of them, if not all of them, they have this idea of the attraction of an imagined Orient. Authors imagined the Orient and wrote about it, but artists, they wanted to paint this exotic, faraway world, totally different, to the extent that it's not only an other, but it is an other in addition to the world of Indians and the world of Asians. In these American paintings in Morocco, the common intellectual heritage on one side, and the varying artistic affiliations, and the personal traveling experience of the painters on the other side, all account for the individual genius of each painter. At first, there was the attraction of the Orient, as I had just said. Then there were positive political developments between North Africa and America, especially between Morocco and America. You know that Morocco is the first country that recognized the United States of America by the end of the 18th century. But during the 19th century, there were some positive developments, political developments between the country, which encouraged many Americans to make cruises and then to come to Morocco. And then, in this way, once the traveling waves of painters to Morocco took a normal course, the vein of fantasy, the first vein of fantasy, which was bred by engendered by the attraction of an imagined Orient, this kind of fantasy gave way, began to wane, and gradually in favor and gave way to more and more realism. It should be stressed in this regard that the traveling painters did not continue on the imitative attitude towards their European predecessors. Once in Morocco, they frequently painted what they saw rather than what they expected or what they imagined. One of the important results is that the American traveling painters did not continue their attitude of imitation. Instead of recycling the same stereotypes, most of these painters were rather among those artists who made the time and effort to actually visit the places they painted some living in the Middle East, others in North Africa, immersing them to the culture and its people, depicting them in a respectful way. End of quote from Gallery. Most of these American traveling painters had at least the Orientalist sensibility. Any act of categorizing all of them within the Orientalist mainstream would undoubtedly question Jade. Now to move to the most important part of my presentation, I have the view. Okay, too. I'm good. Hi again. I'm really very excited.
It seems that Could you please re-upload the documents?
I don't hear you very well. I can't hear you.
Now?
Yes.
So we were in the second part.
Sorry, can you hear me, Professor?
Yes, yes. Voice is clear. Hear you?
Professor Benaissa, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Do you hear me? I hear you now. Your voice is clear. You can continue the lecture. Your voice is clear.
Professor Benaissa, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Do you hear me? Dr. Khalid. Dr. Chaouch, do you hear me? Please, you can go on. Dr. Khalid.
Professor Benaissa, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. I hear you. I think you don't hear me now.
Okay. Yes. Samuel Coleman is the one of the earlier painters. He came to Morocco in the early 1860s. This is one of his tableaus, which was painted in 1878. And this, I presented this one first in order to show how these painters were just at the beginning imitating their European predecessors, because this tableau, this painting, is to a certain extent the kind of revisiting of the same tableau by Léon Adolphe Auguste Bellin, Bellerin Salon à l'Amérique. I'm going to come back to way of light, the same camels, same travelers, etc., which is repeated by the American French predecessor or French mentor. Began with this tableau just to give this idea on how they were influenced by European predecessors. Another painter is Louis Comfort Tiffany, who visited one of his tableaus is this one, Tangier, which is a mixture of realism, which means this is how the city was. We can recognize Tangier by its most Okay. Hi there. I'm really very sorry for this. I don't know how to manage it.
Please re-upload the document.
Yeah, so try to.
You hear me?
Hi again.
Hello, dear Professor. Welcome back again. Very presentation.
Let me go quickly, maybe with the pictures, and then I'm going to give just a summative description of them.
Okay, that's allowed.
Bridgman came to Morocco in the winter of 1872-1873. A scene in Morocco. I've tried to go a little bit quickly in order to cover. On the terrace, as you can see the description of these women. Chatting on the terrace. Aisha, a woman of Morocco. In American paintings, such as Frederick Aisha, a woman of Morocco, and John Singer Sargent, I will try to read Sargent's Grey Amber Smoke. Women are certainly Oriental females, yearning for dreams imagined by the painters, but they are ordinary women who, rather than posing for the Orientalist painter, stand for more authentic and real examples of Oriental women in a moment of their daily life. This is a good example by Bridgman. This is a good example, which is different from the other Orientalist paintings who show Moroccan women as naked ones, Moroccan Algerian women as naked ones. This is more realist. By Bridgman. Another example is, as I said, by Sargent. Sargent's encounter with the intense light of North Africa, the same revealing light which soon captivated Matisse. The same revealing light which captivated Matisse and Kandinsky in Morocco and turned Western paintings toward abstraction. This is another painting by Sargent, which shows Moroccan woman, an ordinary Moroccan woman, which with more realism. I'm sorry, slides, they are moving by themselves. I'm trying to go to the right.
I think so that the problem of the internet is still going on there. While you were talking about the pictures of the Moroccan women, we couldn't see the woman in the picture or in slide.
I'll go back to I'll go back with this story, with this painting by Singer Sargent, Grey Amber Smoke, Tangiers, 1880. As you can see, it's an ordinary woman in what seems to be a darih, a shrine. Okay. See, let's move on. Let's move on. Grey Amber.
Now we just see this slide in which these sketches then completed in their own studies in the so we couldn't see the picture or the image that you were talking about. So, Dr. Chaouch, do you hear me? It's really a very interesting lecture, and we want to learn from our guest speaker, Dr. Chaouch. But the problem is there we cannot avoid this technical problem. I think it will be better to organize the lecture later on, and we will try to make sure that we will not face the same problem, inshallah. So I think we have to call it a day, and we will try to organize the lecture later on, inshallah. We will share an announcement with you, so sorry for this technical problem that we faced today. Have a good night.